Hey guys, it's Troy here. Every so often I have an interesting question or comment from one of you, my viewers. And this particular one I thought was worthy of doing a video and opening up for discussion. So, I had just recently, within the last week or so, put up a video about my visit to Crazy Allen's Emporium out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, since I was in Chapel Hill for the day. And I'd put that I had picked up this particular pen by Porsche Designs. And it's not really manufactured by Porsche Designs. Porsche, the automobile, well, the same family of companies designs the pens. And what they were doing is getting either Graf on Faber-Castell in the older days, I think prior to like 2009, or thereafter from Pelican, getting them to design or to actually manufacture their pens. And either way, you're getting a quality manufacturer to put out the pens for Porsche Designs, and they are upper end pens. You're going to find these several $100s and on up. So, you know, $400 to $700-800 is typical for Porsche Design pens, which is one of the reasons I picked it up, since I got a good deal on it. And I didn't own a Porsche Designs, quite honestly. I've only seen them, and I've seen a few that I really like, wouldn't mind having, but didn't want to pay the money. So one of my viewers, and just to be honest with you, if you post publicly on my channel, your comments are subject to being discussed and shared, because it's out in the open and it's public, okay? So I don't feel bad about violating anything if they're open public discussions. If it's by private messaging, that's a different story. But since this was public, let me share with this. So, here's what the question was. So let me ask, what's the difference between Faber-Castell or Pelican manufacturing a pen designed by Porsche and the Asians manufacturing for Parker or any other own they make? Well, that's their verbiage, not mine. Why do people hate on Asian-made pens but carry on about TWSBI? After all, TWSBI is made in Taiwan. Legitimate question. It deserves some legitimate answers. Yes, I've run across pens actually for Swan, maybe Todd, that were made in India. And as you mentioned, Parker pens I've seen made in Asia. So here was my answer. And I'm going to share this publicly as well. You can go find it on that video if you want, and I'll put a link to that particular video that I did previously. Here are my experiences with Asian-made pens sold as a different branded item. Full disclosure, though I have a lot of different Asian-manufactured pens, I personally prefer European and American-made pens. That's just my own taste. Now, break away from what I wrote. It's very subjective. That's one of the things that's great about this particular hobby. There are people I know who love Asian-made pens. Chinese, Japanese-made pens, they're nibs, and I know there are people who prefer European pens and American-made. That's where I am. I'm subjective. I'm not subjective in it. Yeah, I am very subjective in it. I'm not objective. I am biased because I have my own preference. That's one of the things, like I said, I love about this hobby. You can find your favorites, you can find your preferences, you can find your colors, your styles, your nibs, and just about everything in a price range that you're going to be able to afford, or not, quite honestly, depending upon what your tastes really are. So it's all subjective. It's not objective whatsoever. But let me just continue on. Now, all that being said, I have several pens made for brands like Cross and even Pelican that are obviously made in China. The quality just is not there for the branded name. These pens tend to be lower end and definitely perform as such. The construction is usually far lesser quality than the brand names are known for. Not all Asian-made pens are equal for sure. Japan makes some great quality pens, but overall I'm not a fan of most Japanese pens I own and have used. Some cheap Chinese pens have performed well for me, and it's true. Some, not so much. TWSBI may be made in Taiwan, but they're typically far better quality than the Wing-Sung attempts to copy. I have several TWSBI pens. Some I like better than others. It's all about personal taste. Why do people hate on Asian-made pens? Well, I can answer that in part. Chinese-made pens often have a horrible problem with quality control. I've had several of the same model of pen, and they can vary horrifically from pen to pen, though they are the same brand from the same package. Okay, I'm going to break from what I wrote. Jinhao 992. Great example. I buy these by packs of 15 or 18, I forget which, and I think packs of 15. And I've had some that write fantastically well. I've had some that write not so well. I've had some that have nib problems and I smooth them out or get them writing again or reseat them to get them to work. I've had others that have written great right out of the package, out of the same package. So there's always a difference from time to time. Some of the Wing-Sungs, I just did a video on Wing-Sung, had some problems with it, which was actually a knockoff of a TWSBI, and had problems with the nib, fought with it for a week, finally got it writing, still not the nib that I wanted in it, but at least it's writing now. So, I give away a lot of pens. Somebody sent me a bunch of pens to give away. Matter of fact, this Jinhao 992, I was carrying it just earlier today, and on my desk is my carry case. Today, for pen of the day, I had a Pelican, made by Pelican, the M420, which is a decent quality pen, sterling silver, and it writes fantastically well. I was carrying today a Jinhao 992 for giveaway in case I ran across somebody, and right here the Hero 9626 that I just recently reviewed, and somebody sent me a bunch of these to give away. I've given some of these away already, and this was another one inked up and ready to give away. Sometimes they go great, sometimes not so much. So, let me get back to where I was at. Chinese-made pens are far more brittle and break and crack easily compared to the pens they attempt to emulate. On that note, Chinese manufacturers often downright copy famous branded pens, but with poor quality materials. Well, that 992 kind of copies a Sailor. You know, Sailor 1911. Though that is made for much cheaper, stylish-looking pens that most can afford, they're not my favorites in general. That doesn't mean I don't like them and don't use them. They're a great place to start when investigating fountain pens and for those on a limited budget. True. My son Matthew has a collection of 80-some pens. Most of them are Chinese-made. He's got some European ones too, but I still occasionally use a few Asian-made pens, but usually use European-made pens, as I just showed you with my pen of the day. I don't hate Asian-made pens, but I do hate when I expect great quality on a pen because of the brand name, but find it to be far less quality because of being manufactured cheaply in China. So to answer your question further, the difference between that scenario and Porsche Designs is that Porsche does not manufacture their own pens and does not pretend to. The two manufacturers that they have used over the years are known for great quality luxury pens. Porsche is not trying to pass off cheaply manufactured, lower quality stuff as their own. If Pelican and Graf von Faber-Castell used cheap Chinese pens as their own name, that would be more approximate to the point of your question. And Pelican has in fact done that. I own one of them and was greatly disappointed. The Jazz Elegance, for example, right here. It's a Pelican, carries a Pelican name, it carries a Chinese price in Chinese quality by comparison. I was very disappointed in the Pelican Jazz Elegance. Just does not have the Pelican quality. I ordered it because Pelican quality is known to me. I have a flock of Pelicans. I like them all, except this one. Oh, another one, Cross. I mentioned Cross earlier because that comes to mind. The Cross Aventura, Aventura. This is another one, AT Cross. Great history, great rich history of providing decent quality pens. I own some fantastic writing Cross pens right here behind me. I like them. I use them. I have one inked up right now, and it is one of my favorite writing pens of all time. But this one here is one that you can probably find cheaply in most office supply stores if they carry them. I got this one fairly inexpensively. I just happened to find it one day, new in a box, online, ordered it, and I went, this is just not the quality that I'm used to with Cross. Cross does better than this, and I do believe this one was just cheaply manufactured in Asia, I'm assuming China, with the Cross name on it, and sold as the Aventura. Just not happy with it at all. And I like Cross pens. I like the brand. Did not like this. So, that's two decent quality pens from which I expect great quality, but was greatly disappointed. So I hope that all this answers your question sufficiently. I dislike the expressed disdain for Asian pens as well. It's true. I know people who go off, all Chinese pens are crap. No, they're not. They're not all garbage. There are some out there that are actually halfway decent. I own a bunch. There are some Jinhaos that are actually decent quality. Heroes that are decent quality. On the flip side, there are some that, not so much. I've had some Hero pens that I thought stunk, were horrible. I've had some Jinhaos that I thought this is not all that great. And other ones I went, for the money I paid, that is a pretty good pen. So, I dislike the expressed disdain for Asian pens as well, but I admit that I do in fact have a bias towards European and American made pens. All of this is my personal preference for the performance and quality. And like I said, it's all subjective. It's about personal preference. And I think that is why a lot of people have a disdain for Asian made pens being branded as something else, whether it be a Parker Vector or, I've got Parker Vectors that are probably Asian made that are actually decent. I've got some Parker Vectors that my son has that don't seem to be necessarily Asian made. I've got Asian made pens obviously here that have disappointed me, and I'm sure there's some decent ones out there. So, you got questions? You got comments? This is, after all, social media. Go ahead and leave your comments down below, your questions. Keep it clean, keep it civil, but I don't mind having a discussion and letting you guys discuss and have that debate back and forth if you want. I hope I've been fair, I hope I've been honest, and that you see it as such. So, anyway, hey, happy pen hunting. If you've got some pens that are in your collection that we talked about as far as Asian pens versus European pens and Asian made pens for European names or American names, let us know. Let us know what you think and comment below.